What is up guys, and welcome to a new series where I use money making guides from the OSRS Wiki. If you guys enjoy this idea, I'll definitely make more and try to run through every single one of these on the list, no matter how ridiculous they might be. I'll be trying and testing out these money makers to see how accurate they are so you don't have to. Let's get into the video. So for this video, we'll be doing 1 hour of catching anglerfish. I decided to do a video on this moneymaker because lately I've actually been doing a lot of fishing on the account. I'll show some of the progress that I've been making later on during the video. I can already tell that I'm going to enjoy doing this moneymaker simply because I know that it's going to be AFK, even though I actually haven't fished for anglerfish for a long time. Really, the only times that I fish for anglerfish are when they ask me to do it for a master clue step, I believe. This moneymaker, however, does have pretty high requirements that we will get into later on during the video. But for now, let's just go ahead and move on to the next screen so that I can show you the gear setup for this moneymaker. So luckily, I was already wearing most of the gear that I'll be needing here because Sacred Eels has pretty much been my home for the past week. But basically, you want to be wearing your angler's outfit if you have it. It'll just give you a nice amount of bonus XP. And by nice, I mean a really small amount, but hey, it adds up over time. I also decided to bring the Dragon Harpoon for the special attack. Basically, it increases your fishing level by a little bit, and I brought that because I did a fishing video a while back and someone in the comments said that, you know, I could have maximized profits by bringing the Dragon Harpoon, so I decided to bring it this time. I'm also bringing my Rada's Blessing 4, which I keep forgetting that it has the special effect of allowing you to catch 2 fish at once. Even though you don't get the XP for both of them, you still can get 2 fish and it'll increase your profit by a little bit. The Rada's Blessing 4 gives me an 8% chance to actually receive 2 fish at once. And for the inventory, I am bringing a fishing rod and some sandworms. Now, as for getting to the spot, I'll be using Koret's Memoirs, I think that's how you say it, to teleport to the Piscarilius area. This is the blue book that I had in my inventory earlier. And I also have the Xeric's Talisman. In case you don't have the book for whatever reason, you can just use the talisman to teleport to the closest place that is here in Zaya. The closest teleport would probably be Xeric's Glade or Xeric's Heart on the talisman. And as you can see here, this is where we will be doing the fishing, and you can also trade this guy to buy your sandworms from. It's cheaper to buy it from this guy. I went ahead and just bought him at the GE, but you can buy these packs, and I think you do save a bit of money when you do this. For this 1 hour, it won't be too much money, but if you do stay here for long periods of time, you'll save a lot more money in the long run. There's also a bank close by, and this is where you can deposit your fish after you've caught a full inventory. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Now all you gotta do is just come down here and fish. And again, like I said before, this is a very AFK moneymaker. It takes a while for your inventory to fill up with the anglerfish. It's such a high level fish that it does take a while, but it allows you to AFK and just do other stuff. Like for instance, I've been pretty busy this past week, but I've still been able to fish at the Sacred Eel spot in Zalandra and actually making a pretty decent amount of money. So going from that to anglerfish wasn't that big of a difference. They're both very AFK. I do, however, still prefer the fishing at Sacred Eels, just because I feel like that's even more AFK. It's probably the same though, because here, whenever you get a full inventory, you do have to run and bank. But with the Sacred Eel method, you just have to stay where you're at and use a knife to cut up the eels into Zora scales. So to me, it's more AFK just because you can just let it auto cut them for you, which is pretty slow. But me, whenever I have a full inventory, I usually just tend to chop them up really fast, and it's still pretty chill. I did say earlier that this moneymaker does kind of have high requirements, that being probably the fishing is probably going to be the biggest challenge. It does say that you need 82 plus fishing, but 95 and up is recommended. And I can see why. Like I said, you do catch these fish at a very slow rate, even whenever I was using the Dragon Harpoon spec to boost over 99 fishing. Besides the fishing level, they do say that you need 15 hunter, although this is optional. This is just if you want to dig up your own sandworms, which I wouldn't really recommend. I think you're better off just buying them from either the Grand Exchange or the guy who sells them to the north. Digging them is, I mean, it's good for hunter XP, I guess, but probably not really. I remember doing it during the Twisted League. The Twisted League actually helped me with a lot of the knowledge here on Zaya, and I remember we had to do the sandworms to grind to a certain hunter level before we could move on to something else. But here in the normal game, I think you're better off just buying them. You might actually have some sandworms if you did that method to boost up the Piscarilia's favor, which is another requirement. You do need 100% Piscarilia's favor to be doing this method, so maybe you'll have some banked from that. There are no quest requirements for this moneymaker, but it would be helpful to have the Kebos diary done, just because of that Rada's blessing. It does give you a small chance to catch 2 fish at once. And again, this doesn't give you double the XP, but it does boost the amount of money that you can make. And like I said earlier, I have been pretty busy this past week, which is why this video did come out kind of late, so I apologize for that. But like I said, I've also been doing some fishing on the side, even though I've been, you know, busy. Fishing for anything really in the game is pretty AFK. I managed to get all of the big fish at the fishing guild, being the big shark, the big swordfish, and the big tuna. And actually that is a mistake. It is not a tuna, it is a bass. But I did get pretty lucky on the swordfish. I believe the swordfish is a 1 in 2,500 drop. The bass is a 1 in 1,000. And as you can see here, I got pretty close to 1,000 bass. And then the shark is a 1 in 5,000. And here I only have about 1,800 sharks, but I do assure you that it was a lot more than that. This is just what I had built up in the bank. The other ones I had probably sold over time. If I had to guess, I'd say it was probably like over 10,000 sharks that it took to get the big shark. I did go for the shark first, and then I went for the ones that had a better drop rate. And at first I was pretty excited because I was like, okay, this is going to be easier now that I have the shark, because the shark's 1 in 5k, swordfish is 1 in 2.5. But it actually, for the swordfish it was easier, but I understand why it has a lower drop rate. When you fish for swordfish, you get swordfish and tuna, and then when you fish for bass, even though it's a 1 in 1k, that was still pretty painful, because when you fish for bass you get all of this other junk that you see right here, all of these other fishes and caskets and boots and gloves and all that. Sometimes you can go a whole inventory without catching a single bass. But with that being said, we have finished our 1 hour of catching anglerfish, and we managed to get around 165 anglerfish. In the top left it says that we caught 154, but because of Rada's blessing, that did allow us to catch double the anglerfish on some of our catches. So again, I'd say that's a pretty helpful item to have. Over time, if you spend a lot of time here at this fishing spot, it will make a difference, so definitely bring it. We'll be chucking in the anglerfish for the market price of 1,846 GP, and they will eventually sell. We can now go ahead and do a price check of how much money we made from selling off the raw anglerfish. And as you can see here, it's around 304k, so not bad at all for 1 hour of a pretty chill method. We can now hop to the next screen and do the calculations to see the actual profit that we made from this 1 hour. So the money that we spent on worms totaled around 14,630 GP, and if we subtract that from the amount of money that we made, which was 304,590 GP, we get a grand total profit of 289,960 GP from 1 hour of catching anglerfish. Again, that is not a bad amount of money for how AFK it is. Of course, the requirements are kinda high, that being the high fishing level and the 100% Piscarilia's favor, but once you have that unlocked, this could be a very viable moneymaker. Now, not only did we make a nice amount of money, but we also got some fishing XP. As you can see here, we got 18,942 fishing XP, just a little bit more than what the wiki suggests, and I'll leave that thanks to the angler's outfit that we were wearing, which gives us a nice little boost in XP. And we also, of course, caught more than 150 anglerfish, but just slightly more. Still, I gotta say that I enjoy the sacred eel fishing that I've been doing for the past week more, just because it is, I believe at this moment, more profit. The price of scales was pretty high for the past week or two, and honestly it feels more AFK to me, just because you don't have to bank, you can just cut the fish that you get. And I do believe that I get slightly more fishing XP there, and I also get the equivalent of cooking XP as well for cutting the sacred eels. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this episode. I just want to say thanks for checking it out, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and possibly a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.